All right, let's go ahead and pour this out. And I'm going to do all this in one pass. So here comes the copper. Oh, that is so beautiful. Hey everybody, it's Anna. Welcome back to my Fluid Art channel and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, as you can see, I am painting some more vases. Now, I don't have a huge market for selling vases, so I don't paint them too often, but once or twice a year I'll paint some vases, and it's always a lot of fun. I just love watching the design flow down the side, and you never quite know what you're going to get. So I have two different vase sizes. I have sort of this small one, and then these bigger ones, and all of these I got from Dollar Tree. Come over there. Ta-da! So they're all, I mean, these bigger ones, they're not huge vases. So small vase, bigger vase, and I want to do kind of two different color schemes, maybe a large and a small of each color scheme. So the first color scheme I have is kind of a Southwest colors. So that would be brown, this metallic copper, alizarin crimson, white, and turquoise. But then I thought, well, what if we added some blue and maybe took away the brown? Then we'd have something a little bit more oceany or nautical or something like that. So the first one is going to be Southwest colors, and then the second one I'll play around with whatever colors I have left and see what kind of fun designs I can make. These paints are mixed with apple barrel pouring medium. That is my favorite pouring medium for vases. It just works a lot better than any of the other things that I've tried. If you want to know how I mix my paint for vases, check the link that's down in the video description. But it's really fun to do. Come along with me. Let's paint some vases. All right, I'm all set up. I've got my vase upside down on a cup. I have it on a spinner, which you don't need to do. But if it's on a spinner, then you can turn it and see what does the back look like, what does each side look like, so that does make it handy. And yes, my spinner is still covered with paint, because I figured why bother recovering it with plastic when I'm just going to dump a whole bunch more paint on it. So I have my Southwest colors here, and I have a little silicone cup with a spout. The spout is important because it'll let me get a nice thin stream of paint as I pour it out. So I'm going to layer up the paints in my cup. Now I'm not going to fill it all the way up because if you do that, 3 ounces of paint is about what you need to cover a vase. But the top layers are going to be the cleanest layers, and then the bottom stuff is going to be a little bit more blended. So it just depends on, do you want a blended look remaining on the vase, because the last 1.5 ounces of paint that you put on there, that's what you're going to see. And the first 1.5 ounces-ish, you won't end up seeing it because it'll run off or it'll get covered by other paint. So I'm just going to do 1.5 to 2 ounces, which is about half this cup, and I'll pour that out, and then I'll refill for the second pour. So I'm making fairly small layers because I want lots of color definition, but you know, not really big blocks of any one color. I'm going to add just a little bit more of the brown and the copper, but my cup is about at that half-filled point. There we go. So that's what I'm going to start out with. And so I'm going to pour it out. Ring pours work best on a vase because then you get lots of beautiful layers that flow down. I'm going to turn it so I get different color blend. Right, I'm going to stop there and let it flow down a bit. First of all, this color blend that's coming down is gorgeous. I love the brown with the copper and the crimson. Now, where it's the crimson and the turquoise and the white together, it does look a bit toothpastey. So I might not put those colors next to each other the next time I layer up this cup. It's still very pretty, but it's not as much Southwest feeling. So I'm going to take this paint, and usually I pour out a little bit more in the first round of it. But I'm going to start getting the rest of the vase covered up a bit. Now, I think this paint is not flowing quite as fast. I think I have it mixed a little bit thicker than I normally do. So it still flows, but it's definitely on the thicker side of things. I'm going to spin it a little bit to spread out what's on the top. Looks like I've got a snake up here on the top. That's cute. Little coiled up snake. I'm also going to take my torch and pop some of these air bubbles that are on the side. Do you see that? That way the air bubbles are not going to slow down the flow of the paint or make any of the lines of color get stuck. I mixed my paint yesterday, so I didn't think it would have lots of air bubbles, but apparently it does. Okay, we'll let that continue to flow a little bit while I layer up my second round of this. I didn't want the brown to be super dominant, but it's not showing up a ton, so I'll put a little bit more of it this time. Okay, there's my new cup. It doesn't have a ton of white or turquoise in it, but it has a fair amount of the brown and the copper and the crimson. So let's go ahead and pour this out. I'm going to go ahead and stop because I want to see how these colors, those are beautiful stripes, aren't they? I want to see how they flow down. We do have a bit of dark still here in the bottom. I am actually going to pour a little bit more of that out. Even though that may end up stuck on the bottom. All right, let's torch. So as you can see, certain portions they're covering faster than the others, so I'm just gonna cover what's not covered so that it can flow a little bit faster and be a more even covering. That is so interesting, isn't it? Right, so I think our design is pretty much covered all the way around, and it is interesting to see the layers of color. We have kind of the turquoise band, and we have kind of the crimson and the copper band, and then there's some more brown at the top, which I don't know that it's going to flow a whole lot more. So it's very, very cool. I think probably what's like this bottom inch or two is probably all going to end up going off. but it looks like we have a lot of beautiful stuff in this top area that can still expand to cover that vase. And the nice thing about having thicker paint, it did pour out more slowly, but I think we're going to end up keeping more of the paint because it's thicker. It's not going to flow off quite so easily. So I'm going to give this another few minutes just to let all the paint finish flowing, and then I'll reset for the small Southwest colored vase. Okay, the paint is still dripping, but it is mostly slowed down to the point where I'm going to go ahead and take it off the stand. I'm going to lift it by the cup, don't touch the vase, and then we'll do the smaller vase with the Southwest colors. Alright, we're ready to go with vase number 2, so this one is much smaller. I think I can pour it all in one pass, so I'm going to fill up the cup to about 2 ounces. And I'm going to layer it pretty much the same as I was doing before because I really liked that color blend. Okay, that's about half my cup. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, but we'll give it a try and see. So it is coming down kind of unevenly. I'm not quite sure why. I do think I have enough paint on there. But I might spread this side out a little bit just to make sure that it all can make it down the glass. Because this side's like already way off. These layers are so cool. Just making sure that I get all those bubbles. I'm going to let this drip for just another minute or two, and then I'll go ahead and take that off because it's looking great. Well, this is looking super pretty. I'm sure it is going to continue dripping a little bit, but I think it's time for me to move this and do the next color scheme. Okay, ready for the next color scheme. I don't have a lot of the crimson left, so I'm just going to be using my blue, turquoise, white, and copper to make sort of an ocean or beachy kind of look. So let's layer up the cup. So again, I'm going to start with about a half a cup of this, which is about 1.5 ounces. I'll pour that out, and then I'll add another one, and I think that'll give us cleaner layers. Giving it a spin to help stretch some of that paint. Uh-oh, it looks like there's a lump right here. Yep, there was definitely a lump in the paint. I could see it was moving strangely. We'll get that out. There we go. There's another lump. Not sure which color had the lumps in it, because I didn't notice any in the Southwest paint. Alright, let me go ahead and layer up my second round, and then we'll pour that out. This is such a beautiful, dreamy color blend. I love it. Alright, let's go ahead and pour this. I'm helping it along here a little bit, just to make sure that this side can cover. It's really pretty. So as you can see, what pours out first is these beautiful, bold, bright stripes of color, and then the further up it goes, it gets more muted and soft, which is also very pretty, but depending on what look you are wanting, you can either pour very small amounts of paint so that it's really clean, or in larger amounts of paint, and you'll get more of this soft, blended look. So just think about what is your goal, and then use the amounts of paint that work best for that goal. Okay, so we still have to cover this side just a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit more paint right there to help it flow. So I quite like these bold stripes of color that we have down here at the bottom, but since the majority of the vase is this sort of dreamy look, I don't mind that I'm going to lose most of that, because I do think that this bottom inch or two is going to drip all the way off. So let me let that sit for a couple minutes, and then I'll switch it over to the next one. Alright, I'm getting down to my last little bit of each paint color, so I'm just going to carefully layer those into the cup, but I'm going to do it in the same basic order that I've been doing with the other one, because I really like the way it looked. We'll add all the copper in one kind of big layer, and then let the other colors surround it in smaller layers. Because the stuff that comes out at the very beginning often runs off at the bottom, and the stuff at the very end sometimes doesn't get poured out at all, but the stuff in the middle of your cup, that's what actually turns up on the sides of your vase. Alright, let's go ahead and pour this out, and I'm going to do all this in one pass. So here comes the copper. Oh, that is so beautiful. Those lines are beautiful. I love this area. Just helping this section along. I don't know that I'm making this top any better. Oh well. Okay, so we're just about off the bottom here. That is so cool. So much copper in that. Like I said, one big layer of copper in the middle, that's what's going to help your colors show up the best. I love this layer. I don't know if it's going to stay. We've got a lot of blue right in here, without tons of layering in there, but there is some soft layering. Alright, these vases are all looking super cool. I love them. I'm going to let this one drip for another couple minutes, then I'll take it off and let them all dry for a couple of days. And when they're dry enough to be handled, I will come back and show you how they look. Alright, the vases are all dry. Let's start with these Southwest vases. Look how gorgeous that is! This color blend is perfect. We have sort of the earthy side here with the brown, copper, crimson, with just enough of the turquoise and white running through it. Oh, it's beautiful. Even the bottom looks cool. That copper is so shiny. And then the inside, you see there's even more of the crimson and the turquoise there on the inside, so that's just gorgeous. And then let's look at the smaller one, which also turned out wonderful. So this one has a lot of the copper, which is really cool. Some nice bold stripes of the turquoise and the brown. There's just a little bit of the crimson in this one, not a ton. But then there's more of the crimson on the inside of the vase. So that's kind of a nice little surprise element as well. I love it. I'm so happy with this color blend. And then let's look at the ocean colored vases. So this also turned out beautiful and dreamy. I love the softer colors there, just like waves washing up on the beach. Just enough copper to look like sand, but it's not overpowering. And this layer of blue, it had more of the turquoise in there than I thought. So those green layers, it doesn't look at all too bland or solid. Beautiful bottom. Nice looking inside. Less color contrast on the inside of that one, but it's still gorgeous. And then the smaller one has a bit more copper, but it's still just lovely ocean colors. And I think it looks really cool. Unfortunately, a couple of little bugs, one of them got in the paint here, and I think, oh, up here, see those little tracks? I think the paint was almost completely dry here when something crawled across it, but you won't really be able to tell. And with this one that's right here, I'm going to see if I can carefully use a razor blade or something to remove that and then maybe paint a little bit more copper over the top. But even if I can't get it out, that's not too noticeable. So overall, these are super duper cool. Thank you for joining me for this vase painting video. I hope it's inspired you to try something new. Check the video description for the video where I show you how to finish your painted vases without needing to use resin. I can't wait to see you all in the next video. Bye guys.